Can't decide and torn between a romantic, comedy, action, or an indie film to watch for the weekend? Well. Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast is your ultimate guide to the latest movies. Join us as we dissect the latest on the blockbusters. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Keith, and I've missed you all so much. And this is my co-host, Cynthia, who... Did you miss everybody?
Yeah. No, I did. I did miss you guys. But I am feeling a bit under the weather. And my name's Cynthia, by the way. I'm like, did I mention my name's Cynthia?
I said that your name was Cynthia. Yeah,
see, you guys, my mind's a little foggy right now, but...
Technically, we're all always under the weather. It's not like weather happens beneath us, unless we're in an airplane.
True. Yeah. I get that.
But the dad jokes are already starting.
I was going to say, we're not... Oh, we are a minute in. We're a minute in, and we already have a dad joke. But that's...
Not
okay.
A minute of talking, though, so...
Right. But yeah, I got sick really bad over the weekend, and I have been laying in bed for like the last 3 days. So today's the first day I've actually looked decent and like left my house. But I missed recording, so I'm actually very happy to be here. And it's the very first episode of the year 2020.
Oh yeah, so, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I hope you all had a great time. Fabulous New Year's with your loved ones.
And a great Christmas.
Yes, that too.
And whatever other holidays it is that you celebrate.
All of that good stuff. And we have a lot to cover today, which I'm excited to get into.
Yeah. Real quick, did you watch any movies while you were sick and laid up in bed?
I actually, so there's this.
Did you watch Annihilation yet? I told you to watch Annihilation.
I did not watch it, honestly. That is on my list though. So for those of you who don't know, that's a movie that we talked about in our previous episode.
I'm in love with it. I talk about it all the time.
I really want to see it. It's a suggestion made by Keith. So go listen to that episode if you haven't. And no, it's definitely on my list. Annihilation, for sure. But movies I've watched when I was sick, Disney Plus. So my brother has an account. Yeah. So I watched.
Isn't it always one of your relatives that has an account?
It is.
Never you.
I know. You just gotta like finesse someone else's account and hop on theirs. But I watched Up. I haven't seen that movie I know. Sweet. Every time after I watch that film, it makes me just sit back and analyze my entire life.
I know.
And just be like, wow, life
very introspective.
It is. But I love it. I love that
Super
movie.
Cute.
Super cute.
Kevin's my favorite character.
Yes, the bird, Kevin. Yeah. So it was, I loved that movie. So that's pretty much the only one I watched while I was sick, because I was pretty much in my deathbed, like tissues next to me. I couldn't even drink water because it felt like I was swallowing knives.
Oof.
I know. Have you guys ever had that like sore throat where you can't even swallow because that's how I feel? It's just sharp.
I have never had that before. No.
That's what was happening to me. So
it sounds like literally the worst.
It actually was. I could not even drink water, so it was pretty sucky. But I feel a lot better today, and I'm feeling a lot more energized to do this podcast. So I'm gonna give it my all. So just if you guys can listen past the whole congested part of me and just listen to what we have to say, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, it won't be that hard. You don't sound that congested at all.
Okay, great. I'm trying really hard. I'm like trying to talk very high pitched here. I don't know if it's working, but you guys can let me know. And let's get into the very first topic here for movies, which is the Golden Globes 2020.
Woo! I love award ceremonies. That's
Do you?
No, I hate them.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, because who actually like watches award shows live?
I have some friends who are really into the Oscars, and they'll do like Oscar parties and things like that, which I don't understand. It just feels kind of like this vestigial relic that everybody kind of still honors for no reason. But, you know, that's most awards for anything.
Right. I know. And It's just funny. Do you ever watch award shows live? You know,
No,
on TV.
no.
Okay, me neither. I always watch just like the highlights afterwards on YouTube. But the Golden Globes 2020 just took place this past Sunday, January 5th, at the Beverly Hilton Hotel near Hollywood. So, of course, in Los Angeles, where all the Hollywood stars are. And there were a lot of, well, we'll get into in later what was my favorite part of the whole show. But this was the 77th annual Golden Globes award ceremony, and the host was Ricky Gervais. I'm saying his name right.
Yes.
Gervais.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually did the original Office in Britain.
Did he?
Yeah, he did an Office series in Britain that was the inspiration for the one in the United States.
Okay, I can see that.
It very much fits his type of humor.
I was going to say that.
We're going to talk about his speech, don't worry.
Yes.
But like if you watch his speech and you sense his humor, like he very much gets into that like existential, what is the point of any of this? Why do we care about anything?
Right.
Type feel that he has when he gives his speeches at the...
Well, I kind of want to get into his speech now because that's pretty much.
We're going in order. And he starts with the speech.
Right. He opened the ceremony with an 8-minute monologue. Pretty much, he's roasting all the richest and most prestigious actors in the U.S. We have Brad Pitt sitting there, Jennifer Aniston. We have Beyonce and Jay-Z in the crowd as well.
I don't think
they're not actors, but they're up there, and they're definitely one of the richest people in the U.S. But that was for sure my favorite part of the whole ceremony was the very intro, and it was the 8-minute speech from Ricky Gervais, and his speech made it number 4. At one point, it was number 3 trending on YouTube.
We just watched it, and it's number 4 now.
It's number 4 now, but I watched it this morning around like 10, and it was number 3. So I guess depending at what time you watch it, it's still trending. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And
this happened on Sunday?
Sunday.
Yes, Sunday. So it's been 3 days and it's still in the top 5 trending.
Right.
And it's a speech at an award show. Like, that's pretty funny. And it also takes 7 minutes before he says anything that's pertinent to anybody outside of the people who are really aware of what's happening in Hollywood or generally aware of like activists and things like that. So.
And I'm pretty sure that his speech or the video of him giving his speech had more views than the actual award ceremony.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, because the award ceremony, he kept mentioning it's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So everybody
must
be drunk.
That? Yeah.
Right. They have to be drunk like the whole award ceremony because how can you just sit there for 3 hours listening to people speak? And especially if you lost. You know, you don't want to like sit there sober. You want to, okay, let me like just chug this champagne real quick, get a tiny buzz.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that when you're there as an actor or an actress or just a general member of the Hollywood elite, quote unquote, it must be really awful to have to be with as many people, or it must be really awful to be with a bunch of people who are as insufferable as you know yourself to be. Because part of like, most of the people who are actors and actresses who make it big, quote unquote, they have this like profound self-awareness of the fact that they're like difficult to be around or work with. So
do you think actually actors and actresses have that self-awareness that they're difficult? Some of them?
I think some of them do. I think a lot of like the higher up ones probably do. And that's why we see a lot of like depression, drug use, alcoholism. Like people don't do that. Frequently they don't do that because they had like a nice life. They do that because they're trying to escape something.
Right.
So anyway, this is not the psychology podcast.
Maybe it could be sometimes. But yeah, Ricky Gervais. I mean, I want to ask you, Keith, since you just watched the video with me and it's fresh on your mind, out of all the jokes that he made, what was one that kind of stood out to you? Or that you thought was the funniest or most memorable?
I didn't really feel like much of it stood out. I think it was interesting the way that he kind of addressed everybody, and it was interesting that like half the room seemed like really uncomfortable with the way that he was handling it. And like normally I love that type of thing, but in this particular instance, it just felt like he starts out by talking about how useless the show is and then proceeds to go on this useless monologue about how upsetting it is that these people in this room think that they have the ability to speak into other people's lives, like they have some sort of wisdom to offer them.
Yeah.
But like it's not as if his speech is going to like resonate with people all that much. I don't think that Ricky Gervais is going to normalize the idea that like actors, actresses, professional musicians, and sports celebrities don't really have the same experience as an everyday person, and they should have no say in people's opinions. Mm-hmm. I will say I do really appreciate the fact that he kind of called out all these celebrities who are working for these companies that do these heinously awful things. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if anyone is familiar with all of the like OSHA and labor violations of Amazon in the United States, let alone in other places. And then he specifically mentions that like Apple runs sweatshops in China. And so a lot of, I think that was probably the best part of the speech, just because it kind of is a prime example of like the juxtaposition that we're kind of living in right now in our political climate, where it's like people are selective about the things that they're upset about. Right. We have this like selective outrage that's based off of things that have the closest proximity to us. And so it seems like a lot of these celebrities are well aware that because China's on the other side of the planet and people love their iPhones, we're not going to be upset with them for doing a series for Apple. Right. And we're not going to be upset with them for doing a series for Amazon, because like it doesn't matter that Amazon is in these developing countries creating half of the pollution that those developing countries are making. Mm-hmm. And I don't even want to get into the ethical implications of like why it is or isn't okay that those companies are doing that. But the fact of the matter is that people will get selectively upset about other companies that do those things, but not upset about the companies that provide them with entertainment. It's almost like Ricky Gervais is saying that he's calling out the people who are at the awards show, but ultimately it felt like he was really more calling out the consumer, because people go where there is work, right? Right. So actors and actresses will work for, and he says this, if ISIS had a streaming service, you would work for them, right? Mm-hmm. Actors and actresses will go to the places where there is work, because in the end, even though they make a lot of money, they're just employees, right?
At the end of the day.
Yeah, and so they will go where money is being made. And because we as consumers are woefully unaware of the... To say atrocities is a bit of hyperbole, in my opinion, but just unaware of all the awful things that a lot of these big companies that produce these shows that we know and love, we're just unaware of the things that they do, and we just mindlessly consume entertainment from them as if it has no impact on the economic situation of others. And so I think it is kind of like a misplaced criticism for him to direct those comments towards the celebrities and the people who are there, because I think that most people, if they were given the choice to work for, like, let's just say Netflix has no like foreign or domestic labor violations and they treat their employees really well, right? If an actor was given the choice between working for Netflix and for Apple, a company that does have some pretty heinous labor practices in their foreign investments, like they would probably choose Netflix if they could. But like Ricky Gervais is dissing on people for working for Apple and Amazon, which is good, but he's dissing on the wrong people in the end, in my opinion. Right. So, but not to get too serious, we wanted to talk about jokes. You asked me about jokes. So
yeah, I know.
You tell me about the funny stuff that you like.
Well, okay, I'll mention one, because at the end of the day, he does mention like this is all for jokes, it's all for laughs. But there is like some hidden truth to all of his jokes, of course. But one that kind of like made me giggle, actually LOL out loud. He was mentioning how oftentimes at award shows, people of color get left out, or, you know, they get snubbed from different categories. Yeah. And he jokingly said, we were gonna do an in memoriam here tonight, but when we saw the list, it wasn't diverse enough. Like all the people who have passed away, he said they were all white. Yeah. So I don't know. That just made me chuckle a little bit. Yeah. I know it made the audience chuckle if you didn't see the video, but that was one of the jokes he made that I was like, oh, haha, that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, why don't we get to the next one after we take a quick commercial break?
Yes.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break, guys. We'll be back with the next joke that Cynthia thought was hilarious from Ricky Gervais's speech.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Hello and welcome back to GSMC Movie Podcast. And right before the break, I was sharing with you guys and with Keith a little of some of the jokes that Ricky Gervais was saying during his Golden Globes 2020 monologue speech. And the other quick little joke I'll mention here for you guys that I thought was laughable a little bit, and Keith, you previously mentioned it a tiny bit in the previous segment, was how Ricky Gervais was saying pretty much how celebrities aren't in touch with the everyday real life that us, regular people go through. So he was calling celebrities out, saying, if you win an award tonight and when you come up and accept your speech, don't use it.
Award and give your speech.
Right.
Yeah.
He says don't use it as a platform to make a political speech or political stance, that celebrities are in no position to pretty much voice their stance on a political subject or lecture any of the public about their position. So I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that because we did very briefly touch on that in the previous segment. But if you guys want to know more in detail what we're talking about, you can go on YouTube.
Check out the video.
Right, it's on
It'll
YouTube.
Pop up real quick if you type in Golden Globe. It's like the first thing that comes up.
Golden
Globe,
yeah. I mean,
Ricky
it is
Gervais
trending
speech.
on YouTube, so there must be a reason. It must have resonated with a lot of people because to be trending on YouTube, even top 10, is pretty difficult. So to be hitting number 3.
Especially if it's an 8-minute long video. I will
say,
I'm
surprised I watched the whole thing, honestly.
Yeah. Well, you have to wait until 7 minutes until he says something that's pertinent to like everyday people.
Right.
I will say, however, like part of that selective outrage is that people love watching rich people get insulted.
Right.
It's like this weird fetish that we have as a culture. So that's part of it. But real quick, you put this little interesting tidbit at the end of the facts about the awards show about Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Yes.
Can you share that?
Right. Okay. So there's been so many jokes and memes circling around Twitter about Jay-Z and Beyonce. And first of all, we all know that Beyonce, she's like a celebrity for other celebrities. Like other celebrities get starstruck when they see Beyonce. Like that's how much success this woman has and the impact this woman has on so many people, including celebrities. And Beyonce and Jay-Z showed up to the awards show an hour late, and people were making jokes like, oh, like she's able to do that. She's like the AA list of celebrities, like she's all the way up there. She doesn't have to show up on time to these award shows. And the even funnier part is that the whole Golden Globe event is sponsored by Moet, which is a champagne brand. And Beyonce and Jay-Z, instead of drinking the supply that was there, they ended up bringing their own bottle of champagne to the event, which is funny because people were saying all over Twitter like, oh, BYOB, like bring your own bottle,
So
and like,
great.
yeah. So it's just funny because Beyonce and Jay-Z, they kind of live on their own rules, their own time. They don't conform to what the industry tells them to do. Like, oh, you need to be at this award show by 7 p.m. They're rolling in at 8:30 with their own bottle of champagne in their hand, even though the event is sponsored by Moet. So I just thought that was super comical. And I know many other social media users thought that was funny as well.
Do we know who makes the bottle of champagne that they brought?
I know it's Jay-Z's. He is sponsored by a different brand. So I think that's also another reason why Because, I mean, that would look bad on Jay-Z's part if he were drinking
champagne.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
that's funny.
But I just thought it was pretty funny because I'm like, only them. I mean, they're billionaire couple, you know, walking, so they can do whatever they want. But I just thought it was kind of funny, and I wanted to mention it here with you guys.
Yeah. So why don't we get into some of the awards?
Yes, let's get into some of the winners. And I'm not going to share all of the winners because we'll be here like all day. Yeah. But I just pulled some of the most that I think were the most important ones, some awards that kind of stood out to me. So let's get into it. First one being Best Motion Picture Drama, which was awarded to the movie 1917. This one shocked me because I was so sure Joker was going to win in this category, but the film 1917 is the one that took this award. And for best performance by an actor in a motion picture drama, which was, I cannot speak right now, was awarded to Joaquin Phoenix for his performance in Joker. So that kind of made up for it for me since Joker didn't win best motion picture drama. At least Joaquin Phoenix, you know, got what he deserved and he won for best performance. Cause again, if you have not seen Joker, it's a must see. Like it's for sure probably not even just the best movie of 2019, but probably one of the most dynamic movies of the decade. And I know that is a pretty big claim. Big statement.
There's been a lot of incredible movies.
But Joker's up there. Joker's up there. I don't think I've seen a film that does it quite like this one. And Joaquin Phoenix, something else I wanted to mention about him, he cannot break out a character. Like when
yeah, he's a method actor.
Right. Like he's the perfect Joker. Even during his acceptance speech at the Golden Globes, as he was speaking, like his mannerisms and the way he spoke and everything, I felt like I was watching Joker. Like I was watching a scene from the Joker.
Well, part of the premise of the Joker is it's this entertainer who like finds out that there's really like no purpose in anything and has to go through this like slow decline into madness. So it isn't too far from what a lot of Hollywood celebrities probably feel, which I think is part of the reason why it's like getting a lot of attention and awards.
Yeah, and it's highly relatable.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's the popular thing to give an award to because it was a popular movie. It doesn't necessarily do what movies that normally win awards do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like normally the movies that win awards are much more dramatic. Interesting little tidbit. I want to talk real quick about 1917. It just looks like Saving Private Ryan in World War I, which is like cool. But I just did a little search on the director, and it is Sam Mendes, who also directed the film American Beauty, which is like an incredible movie, which I believe stars Harrison Ford, unless that's American Graffiti. But both great movies, so you should definitely check that out. So I'm not surprised that it won more than a couple, and he did win Best Director.
Yeah, he did. So. Sam Mendes did. I have not seen the film 1917 yet.
No, neither have I.
But
and the trailers are pretty cryptic. It's just like generally an action war movie. Yeah. So.
But I'm kind of confused as to how this film already won a Golden Globe because this film barely came out last month in theaters.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of
There's
confused.
like a specific amount of time for awards season. So like that's why right now we're going to get a lot of the movies that are vying for Oscars. We'll get them in theaters now rather than earlier in the year because a lot of the producers and like the actors and actresses and agents and directors and all that, if they are going for an award with this movie or they think that it might win an award, they'll try to release it later in the year so that it's fresh on the mind of critics. Right? So when they're actually going in to talk about who's going to get this award. So I think that might be part of the reason why we see it more frequently. So yeah, you go ahead and keep going. What? So we have Best Actress in a Motion Picture Drama by Renee Zellweger, which I haven't seen her name in a long time.
I know, I haven't seen her either, and I haven't seen. And she won that award for her performance in Judy.
Was that a movie about Judge Judy?
I haven't seen that film yet, so that's
why
I want to watch it because I'm like, I didn't hear a lot of about Judy. There was not a lot of like advertisement or anything of that sort for that film, so that's why I was like, oh. Yeah, well, I'm a little intrigued. I want to watch it now.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised that like 1917 and The Joker are on here because like most of the time when you see award shows, the popular movies are not the ones that get the awards, because normally the Academy is more interested in like giving it to an award or giving an award to a movie that they feel like did something interesting or like was able to portray this like classic Hollywood concept in a very classic Hollywood
or is that
way.
more like the Oscars? Because I know the Oscars is a little more higher end of the Golden Globes.
Higher end in air
quotes. Air quotes, right.
I mean, ultimately, these award shows pick the things that are going to make people watch the award show and make people watch more movies. So it makes sense that, like, I have always felt like the Golden Globes is like the award show for the everyday man or the everyday woman, right? So, but yeah, and then they had Best Animated Picture was Missing Link, which I actually really wanted to see. The trailer looked adorable.
Right. So, and it ended up beating also Frozen 2, The Lion King, and Toy Story 4, which again, I was like, Toy Story 4. Yeah. I love that movie. I loved all of these like animation movies.
I think that the Academy's probably just tired of giving Disney the award every year for an animated film. Yeah.
But yeah, Missing Link, when I did see the trailer, I was like, oh, this is cute. So I definitely would see. I'm not upset that they won Best Animated Motion Picture.
No, and it definitely looked really good. And just in reading the synopsis, it looks super kind of like interesting and different from what
that's what I thought too. I was like, oh, I haven't really ever seen a kids movie with this concept surrounding it.
Yeah.
And then the very last 2 awards I want to share with you guys for the Golden Globes was the Carol Burnett Award, which was awarded to Ellen DeGeneres. And this award is given to those for outstanding contributions to television on and off screen. So what better person, what better woman than my girl Ellen DeGeneres, because she does a lot, on her show. She's always, giving money to charity, giving money to regular schmegular people like us, helping those in need. So I'm a big fan of Ellen. I don't watch her show as frequently as I used to when I was like in high school. But she's still very, very relevant. And no, I love Ellen. So I'm a fan. And then for the very last award, the Cecile B. DeMille Award, awarded to Tom Hanks.
Do they have one for each gender? Is that the deal?
I don't know if they have it for each gender. I'm not sure. But Tom Hanks, so for the Cecile B. DeMille Award is awarded for outstanding contributions to the world of entertainment. And Tom Hanks, he's done a lot as well in the world of entertainment. So I'm not surprised with those last 2 awards, and I'm a fan of both Tom Hanks and Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, I love Tom Hanks. He's great. I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie where I didn't like him.
Same. Like Forrest Gump. Even when he was up there accepting his award during his speech, all I can think was Toy Story, like Woody. Because I'm like, I can't get Woody every time he speaks. I'm like, there's Woody. So
it'll be a sad day when he gets a little too old to voice Woody.
I don't want to think about on it. Okay. That's an interesting point you made right now, because as I was watching the awards show on YouTube and they, the camera crew, they start pointing it to different actors and actresses in the audience. I noticed how a lot of my favorite actors and actresses that I grew up watching, they look, I hate to say it, but they look old. Like they look like old, like Antonio Banderas. I know, like that sounds so messed up, but I'm like, they aged. But I mean, it must be with all like the hard work they've been putting in and like the amount of stress. Like, I'm not, that's not like, that's not a hate comment. That's not at all a hate comment. But I was just very shocked. I'm like, wow, like these people are aging. I sometimes forget, I'm in my mid-20s, like I'm growing up, and I forget that people who are older than me are also growing up.
Yeah, well, it's funny. You watch a movie and this person almost like exists in this like very specific image to you in this film. So when you see them in real life and they don't look like that, it's like this weird juxtaposition of like perception versus reality. Yes,
absolutely. So yeah. Well, but Meryl Streep looks exactly the same though. Like Meryl Streep, she still looks good. I'm like,
she's immortal.
She's immortal. She really is. She really is.
Yeah. Well, that about covers it for the Golden Globes. So we're going to take one more commercial break, and then we're going to come back and talk about a few movies that we are excited about in the new year. So we'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
GSMC movie podcast, and we're going to move away from the Golden Globes and we're going to dive into some movie trailers that Keith and I have picked out for you guys. And the first one being a rated R comedy film titled Like a Boss, and it's coming to theaters this Friday, January 10th. I've been seeing this movie trailer everywhere. Every time I log onto Facebook, it pops up everywhere. Every time I watch TV as well. Mm-hmm. So I've been seeing a lot of promotion for this film, Like a Boss. Mm-hmm. I have a lot to say about this, and I know Keith has to say a lot about this too. So I'm gonna first share with you guys a synopsis of this film, so you have a better understanding of what it's about. And it goes, best friends Mia and Mel run their own cosmetics company, a business they built from the ground up. But they're also in over their heads financially, and the prospect of a buyout offer from an industry titan proves too tempting to pass up. The beauty business is now about to get ugly as the proposal puts Mia and Mel's lifelong friendship to the ultimate test. So it sounds to me like pretty much two best friends. They have their own cosmetic brand, and they're going broke. And then comes a buyer who's like, I want to offer you $1 million. And then this lady tries to pretty much take their company away.
I'm pretty sure that in the trailer, Salma Hayek says $50 million exactly.
Something
they give away like the entire premise of the film in the trailer.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I pretty much got the whole gist of the movie in that 2-minute trailer. And some of the stars of the film are Tiffany Haddish, Rose Byrne, Salma Hayek, Billy Porter, Jennifer Coolidge. She was in Cinderella with Hilary Duff. I haven't seen her in ages. Oh my gosh. I have not seen her in ages.
That's such a funny reference that you know.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that you know that.
Oh yeah. And that's why I'm interested in the film, because it's honestly a talented group of women in the film, but I just don't think the story is strong. And I also, another interesting thing about the film, it's very short. When I was looking up the film, it's only 83 minutes long. So it's not even an hour and a half film. I mean, there are Disney movies that are longer than this. Yeah. So I don't really know how I feel about it. Like I said, I love all the women in this film, including, Billy Porter. I like him too. But I just don't think I would pay money to go see it in film or go see it in theaters. I don't want to pay $60. No. I'd rather just wait for it to come out on Netflix.
$16? Is that how much movie tickets are?
Yeah, they're expensive.
I haven't been in I think the last time I went to a movie theater was
Don't say that. You're on a movie podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Like Ricky Gervais said, most people watch their movies on Netflix.
Yeah, on streaming services, it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know how I would feel about going to the theaters and like spending a lot of money to watch this film.
I know, yeah, especially if it's only 83 minutes long.
Right, it's
83
short.
minutes includes the credits.
Yeah.
So it's probably really more like 73 minutes of actual movie. It's an hour and 10 minutes of actual movie. Probably more like an hour exactly of actual movie, because the first 10 minutes are like introduction and more credits and things like that. So it'll be nice because it's like a quick movie going experience, but there's I kind of agree. There's really no reason to see it in theaters. It's not like it looks funny. And I love the introductory scene with the cake. I thought that was pretty great.
Right.
If you watch the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. I thought that joke was pretty heinous, and I do love myself a good heinous joke, but I just don't think Like, you see some trailers for comedies and you're like, wow, you just told me or gave me all of the funniest scenes from that movie.
That's what this trailer did.
Yeah.
It gave all of its funniest scenes away. Like, so it's like, what am I supposed to expect, from the entire film? Because I feel like all the best parts were already on the trailer, and their best parts were like, they're good, but they're not worthy of paying $16 at a theater good.
Yeah.
And especially for only being technically 73 minutes of actual movie time, or action time. So I want to know, let us know in the comments what you guys also think of this trailer. If you're going to go see it this Friday, let us know if we're wrong. Maybe you guys can totally be like blown away and be like, oh, it's the best like comedy film out there right now. I don't know. I definitely will watch it, but once it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So I'll wait a few more months to watch Like a Boss.
Yeah.
But again, this rated R comedy film will be coming out this Friday, January 10th. And let's move on to our next film,
which looks just as unworthy of my money.
So far, 2020, I am not impressed with these films. I'm sorry.
We're kind of in like a lull for action movies. We're in like the high peak season for dramas and things like that. But we're talking next about a movie called Underwater, which I found this when I was on some like science fiction website or something like that. And it basically said the same thing that I was thinking. So it's rated PG-13. It's a horror suspense thriller film that stars Kristen Stewart and a bunch of other people who like other people might be familiar with their names, but I'm not. It stars Kristen Stewart and her shaved head. So it's rated PG-13. The synopsis. A crew of aquatic researchers work to get to safety after an earthquake devastates their subterranean laboratory. But the crew has more than the ocean seabed to fear. Mysterious creatures terrorize crew members aboard a research station at the bottom of the ocean.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, first off, a horror thrilling movie rated PG-13 with Kristen Stewart.
Right, like, that already, I was like, I'm tuned out. Tuned out.
Yeah.
Like,
no, why even bother?
You can't have a horror film that's rated PG-13. No. When I see that, I'm like, I'm not watching it. It has to be rated R. Yeah, like, it has to be.
I should be fearful that a child will see this.
Right.
In order for it to be a good movie.
Right. That
and
is
like,
so funny.
Don't show your kids rated. Well, okay, do what you want. You're your own people. But like, I remember the first rated R movie the first PG-13 horror movie I saw was Signs, and it scared the tar out of me. Like, I to this day cannot watch that movie. That scene where the alien walks by from behind the bushes is like traumatizing to me.
That's funny.
Anyway, but so this looks like really bad.
Right. This looks like a trash film.
Absolutely.
It's definitely going in that category of a trash film. So, Keith, how about you share with everyone, if this is the first time listening to the episode, what is a trash film?
It's a movie that's so bad it's good. So we talked about Deep Blue Sea a few episodes ago. I can't remember what the name of the episode was. It had something to do with...
It's one of our first ones together.
Yeah, it's one of our first episodes together. It may have been like the second or third. We were super excited to talk about this movie. We both loved it and hated it at the same time. Right. And this might fall into that category. It's got everything that it needs to in order to have that happen for it. So definitely let us know. Critics are basically saying that
there's mixed reviews. There's mixed reviews. Some are saying, that I'll just read one of them for you guys. So a good critique goes, a grand spectacle film that feels tailored specifically for the horror fan. One that doesn't bother with pretension and dives straight into the action. It's shallow on plot and characterization, but none of that matters in this breathless scenario. And then...
Wow, that is just so full of...
Right, that's how I was like, there's a lot of
real.
fluff. That's fluff right there.
Yeah,
like
that person got paid.
For the horror fan, that definitely seems like a paid review, because when I watched the trailer, I wasn't getting that terror feeling.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and
unless you're scared of drowning, in which case, like, you might, maybe, but like, I'm sorry, but water isn't scary.
Well, okay, I will say this. I do get a lot of anxiety when when there's this. We did talk about this in Deep Blue Sea, and that's why I don't think I'm inclined to watch this film, because the concept is too similar to Deep Blue Sea. It's like underwater, just trying to recreate, I don't know, like, it's just, I don't know. What's that? You said one time this little, I can't think right now, but I'm not inclined to watch it. And I don't know. What about you, Kathy? Is this a trash film that you think you'll watch?
No, I definitely will not bother with seeing this in theaters. But this next movie that we're going to talk about, I'm super interested in seeing in theaters. So,
after midnight.
Yeah, after midnight. So for small-town bar owner Hank, played by Jeremy Gardner, his 10-year relationship with Abby, played by Brea Grant, has been storybook quality. Abby, however, wants more. Marriage, to be exact, which Hank doesn't seem ready to initiate anytime soon. As a result, she leaves him without so much as a note or any subsequent communications. Hank is crushed. Even worse, Abby's departure seemingly triggers the arrival of an unseen monster that claws at Hank's front door at night. This, sorry, I got lost in reading it.
As
the nocturnal threat intensifies, Hank must figure out how to not only save his relationship, but also himself.
I have a few questions because I had to watch.
The director is the primary writer and the star.
Okay, but that wasn't my question. My question was going to be. See, and I lost my question now, and I'm thinking about that. I'm like, oh. Okay,
cool.
So I had to watch the trailer twice because I didn't really. That synopsis you just read to me, I for some reason didn't capture it in the trailer. Yeah. I don't know if it's because I'm sick, my mind's like foggy. But
no, it's a little
I want to get like a little more in depth about what's really going on in the trailer because my understanding was there was this how it's like some like nocturnal monster that comes to his house at night, but that's it. Like I didn't really get the whole his girlfriend of 10 years leaves him and that triggers a monster to come. So
well, he says like there's like a voicemail that he leaves where he says like, Abby, you can't just not talk to me. Like you're going to have to talk to me eventually. You can't just disappear. And then he's talking to like a deputy or a sheriff or somebody. He says, and like, you should just tell your sister to come on home now. Like, it definitely, I think there's an implication that they broke up, but I think that the movie trailer is supposed to be cryptic, and it even ends with him saying like, I don't know if it's not you, and he's talking to the girlfriend and says like, are you a werewolf or something? And like, so it kind of acknowledges the potential premise of the film, which I think is that ultimately the monster is like this manifestation of the conflict in the relationship, and it's brought into existence through some sort of like magical, probably like a kind of like an 80s trope. I would guess like an 80s horror movie trope, like the house is buried on an Indian or is built on an Indian burial ground, and there's this ghost that comes out with the specific conflict or something like that. So I think it definitely looks interesting. It's won a couple of awards at foreign film festivals, which is really cool.
Is this considered like a foreign film?
I don't think so. I looked up Jeremy Gardner, the guy who directed it, and he's done a couple other things. There's a film called The Battery that gets mentioned several times, or Battery, that's supposed to be really good. So I think this is kind of like a movie for moviegoers type of thing, but I think this might be their first like foray into like a more popular type of film. So it looks really interesting, and I'm definitely intrigued. This is one that I actually might go see in theaters.
Oh, there we go.
Because it looks fun, you know, like it looks.
You definitely
like a
have to keep us updated then if the trailer lived up to the hype and lived up to your expectations. Because
it's only my hype,
right? Well, I mean, you hyped up the other two. What I can't say that. Annihilation. What was the other film you also mentioned?
Oh, goodness.
In the previous, it was another like science fiction thriller film.
The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Yeah, okay, that one. It's not sci-fi, but that one.
Yeah.
Yes. So those two are definitely my top list. So I'm excited to hear if you do go see this in theaters.
I will definitely let you know.
Yes.
So that's all we've got for you today, guys. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to our regular weekly schedule. We will be back next week. We know that it must have been really hard to get through Christmas and New Year's without hearing our wonderful voices.
They missed us. I know they missed us.
I know. I can feel it.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's podcast. If you like today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe,
leave us some 5-star reviews, follow us on the Twitter,
comment, all of that good stuff. Share it with your loved ones, your family, all of that good stuff. And stay tuned for next week for another episode here at GSMC Movie Podcast. And we wish you guys all a very happy week.
Yeah, and Happy New Year.
listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.